welcome to Sober on Purpose. We
Yes.
have Victoria here with us, and you guys are going to learn a lot today. She has a huge background, has multiple different careers in her background, and she is a person that is highly driven and organized. And I would imagine, Victoria, if you want it, you're going to get it. Figure out how to get it. She has a blazingly successful YouTube channel. We'll put all those links down below. So be sure and click subscribe, because we want to link everything to her YouTube channel so that you can get over there as well. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, which is up here or down here or somewhere in there. And it's Miss M is the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Awesome. So Victoria, tell us, you have just a fantastic background. Tell us a little bit about what you have done in your life so far.
Okay. Well, thank you once again. Thank you for having me here. And so I always say that I like to break my life up into quarters, like you figure 1 to 25 and 25, and you go like that, and you're able to look at where you are and what you need to do. So the first part, of course, was just I was, born in Ohio. My dad was in the Air Force, and so he traveled quite a bit. So I already, from the very beginning, at a very small age, was exposed to quite a bit of traveling, which made a great impression on me because I got to see so much. So my world was a lot larger from the very beginning, which was really great. And then I decided to follow in his footsteps after I had gone to the FAMU University in Florida, like he did. And so I went into the military as well. And so that was like the second part of my life, because I've now graduated from high school, went into the military, I went to school, and my background was accounting, but I went into the military as a linguist. And they said if you chose a language that was not what they call a romance language, then you would get a really great bonus and get to see a lot of different great things. So that's what I did. So I traveled to Korea, among other places, for a couple of years. And then once I got out of the military, I knew that I loved the structure and I liked the discipline and just how it was so organized. So a lot of that stayed with me. And I knew then that I wanted to do something on my own when I got out of the military. So once I got out, I then moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I opened my first boutique. It was a clothing store, loved it. Then I decided to sell it. I always heard about starting a business to sell. So that's what I did. And then once I sold my first boutique, I was hooked. I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur from that point. I thought I did before, but I really knew that I did then. And then I moved to Florida, where I opened a small commercial cleaning business in my 1 bedroom apartment. And it grew to over 6 figures within 9 months. And from then I started doing teaching and started doing government contracts, which kind of pulled me back to what I love, which was the military. So now what I do is I consulting and courses, teaching people, and no matter what your industry is, if you're looking to leave your 9 to 5 and you know why, and you have clear purpose, that definitely is a roadmap for being able to do that in any industry. So if you're an accountant and you want to do government contracts, there are so many different opportunities. So that's where I've been for the last 10 years, and I love it.
That's so awesome. So again, I'm going to refer our listeners back over to Ms. M.S. period M YouTube, because we're going to talk about life skills today. No matter what industry you go into, and that's, Victoria, why I wanted you to have to talk about your background, is you don't have to be locked into one job. You can change and do different things. And when we're talking to the folks with who have had substance use disorders in the past, we've interviewed several people who have said that same power is a great entrepreneurial power, to focus, to know your why, to go out and get what you need, to make sure it happens. And that really shapes the whole world. So talk to us about how you help your people in your webinars and the things that you do find their why, find their purpose, get themselves to a place that they can start moving forward.
Okay, well, that's a really great question. I get a lot of individuals that think it's about the money. Now, of course, when I first got started, I did as well. I thought, wow, it's about the money. But the way you find your why is normally what is your main reason for wanting to start a business? So let's say I say my main reason for wanting to start a business is freedom. Then why? So you dig down, continue to ask the why. And then when you go like maybe five whys down, you get to what the real thing is. So whatever you say on the surface, there's usually more to it. And so when you get down to like me, I say freedom and then I say why. And I know that for me, the reason is the freedom allows me to be able to go visit my mom when I want to. Why is that important? Because family is. So when you get down to it, you realize family is important to me. Freedom allows me to do that. And the money gives me the options. It's like a tool. But the money itself isn't it. It's the fact that I get to be able, because my mom lives in Ohio and I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. So it allows me to be able to pack my computer up, teach my courses anywhere that I want. And freedom was always something important to me because I think when I was younger, I saw a lot of people that did the 9 to 5 and they had to cram everything in those like 48 hours from Friday to Monday. And they'd be up late on Sunday night, dreading going to work. And even at a young age, I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't understand all of it, but I knew it just seemed so like you were so confined and you just didn't have the ability and I think the option to move around. I didn't know what allowed you to do that. But as I started observing people that had more freedom, I saw that one of the things that allowed them to do that was money. Money bought them time and allowed them to have a lifestyle they wanted. So when we drill down to what it is, then you put your why somewhere you can see it every single day. And then anytime you start to kind of get off your little journey, then you can see it every day and be reminded of why you're doing all the things you're doing.
When you work with people who come in and say, it's about I need to make 400,000 this year or I need to make 1 million and they just see money. What do you use to help them move around and say, yeah, the money's nice, but when I hit this number, I'll want more, I want more, I want more. How do you help them with that?
I usually help them by I have like a worksheet. So in the worksheet, you write because a lot of people don't really know themselves, believe it or not. So you kind of write down if everything was removed from you, if you couldn't have the money, what brings you pleasure that doesn't cost anything? Is it going for a walk in, with trees and seeing nature? Is it playing with your children? Usually, is it volunteering? Usually that gets to who the authentic self is. So you really have to do some soul searching, which is what I always loved doing because I always said that I'd hear people when I was younger, they talked about having a midlife crisis. And I didn't quite understand that. But I said, well, I don't want to get to 40 or 50 or whatever that age is and then start going like, oh, who am I? So I was just mindful of wanting to do that throughout when I was younger. So when you start giving people assignments and having them work in silence and really hone in on pen and paper. I know we're very technical. This is, nowadays everything is apps and all that. But if you take that pen to paper and you just sit down and you write your thoughts, something about writing it down seems to make it transform itself into something that makes it happen. So if you had nothing else and it was just basic, what would make you happy? That's a start for them realizing it's not the money. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the money. So that exercise, when they first come aboard, that's the very first thing they receive. And once they do that, and we write it down, and then we write all the, how about relationships? What would make a perfect relationship? Money. And you go in and you realize it's the complete thing that you are aspiring and not just one part. And that's what helps them focus and know where to go.
So, and it keeps the money from being empty. Because I'm sure you could take people who just want money and make and help them make it, but they'd come back to you and say, that doesn't really fix it. That's not
No, it doesn't.
not really what
Right.
I wanted. You said
That's
something
true.
you said something earlier about you did the boutique and you sold it and you went, I really like being an entrepreneur. What is that feeling about? What do you help your clients with as far as being entrepreneurs?
Well, one of the things is once they figure out their why. And then you realize that a lot of individuals are scattered. They don't know where to start. They don't realize that the mindset is everything. So I spend a lot of time getting their mindset on point because that starts everything. You know, I don't remember what book I read, but it talked about we all have a thermometer, and no matter what we think we want it set on, we will never keep anything if we don't understand the mindset is everything. So even if you think you want 600,000, you won't keep it if your thermostat's on low. So you've got to work on getting the mindset and filling yourself up outside of that. So you look sort of like my cup is running over, and what's on the outside is what I give to other people. What's in the inside of the cup is full. That's for me. And if you keep working on that, then you will find people that will say to me, wow, I really thought it was the money. But after realizing that I started to make a little bit of money, it really didn't make me happy. Or when I started having time away from a job, I realized it wasn't the money, it's the freedom to play with my children. They start to get to know themselves because you have time. If you're in DC and you get up to go to work, you're on the move. You leave at 6, you're in a car, you're maybe driving an hour in traffic. You've got music on, so it's not like you can listen to yourself, and you need quiet time to hear and to understand what's going on internally. And then you get to a job, and then you get back in the car and you come home and you usually stay up for a couple hours and go to sleep. Well, that's most people's lives. So they really don't even take the time to understand themselves, to understand what it is they really want. So that's where we start. And when people start doing the mindset exercises, they are amazed at how little they knew about themselves and how much other things mean more to them than the money. And most times it's relationships.
Yeah.
That's what I find most people ultimately are looking for.
So when I ran into you, it's been 7 months now, I think. You were finishing up or had just finished up helping people in the cleaning business get government contracts. And
Yes.
to me, in my mind, that's a cleaning business is reasonably simple to start. How do you take people who have a residential cleaning, understand that, and help them see that it could be bigger, that these government contracts could really expand their horizons?
Well, first you let them know that the government is the largest employer in the world. So that starts with the beginning. And then you ask them something simple like, have you heard of Lockheed Martin or Boeing or something like that, which almost everyone walking around has. And then you start to let them understand that this is a $1 trillion industry. I think they said that there's like 10 trillion that's available, period. So if you look at, we're at 1 trillion for government, and that the government considers a small business anything under 19.5 million. Now, when we talk about small businesses, we're looking at, maybe mid 6 figures. They're talking about 19.5 million is considered a small business. Once you realize where their level of how they're with, where their point of considering large is, and they think that's small, your mind is going to open completely, because what is large is relative based on what your exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember they had this commercial. I don't remember. It was someone that was very wealthy. It may have been Getty or something. And he said, now take the average family that makes $400,000 a year. They said, excuse me, sir. The average family doesn't make 400,000 a year. He's like, oh, okay. Well, take the average family that makes, 3 or 200,000. They said, excuse me, sir. The average family makes, I think it was 60 or 70,000, if that.
Right, 70.
And his mouth opened, because his concept of how, he's like, how do they live? I mean, literally couldn't even understand, how can someone live off of 70, 80,000 a year?
Yeah.
People do, because it's what they consider reality. So with that said, once again, we worked with the mind and start exposing them to having this business to build generational wealth. And then you start talking about people that have generational wealth and how generations, they've not had to be concerned about what they're going to leave to their children's children, is what you should think, not your children, but your grands, your great grands. And when
Mm-hmm.
you set them up, how much easier their life is when you're able to expose them to that and not make them think it's just something to do. They will
Mm.
begin to then set systems up in place, and they will start to realize the systems are what make the difference. And that is, you're able to do that when you do that shift to government.
Mm-hmm.
Government has a lot of industries that they need, but one of them are service, and service is really big. And of course, the commercial, janitorial, custodial, all of that housekeeping falls under there. So there are billions of dollars spent on that type of industry as well as others. And once you're able to put all those pieces together in front of maybe an hour masterclass, what I do, their mind opens up to a whole nother world, and they stop thinking of only doing residential and only doing commercial, and they start looking at that shift doing B2G, business to government. And then they start to feel like, wow, I can feel that security. Everyone knows the government's going to pay you. They may have like a little where they close down for a couple of weeks or something, but you always get paid. So if you want that security and you want to look at a long-term goal, and that's why I get people think of short-term and long-term. And when you think of a long-term goal and you add government in there, and then you realize I can leave doing this, and now I can work with the agency that's going to utilize me over and over, and I can hire individuals, and I have a long-term strategy. It's really not that hard for them to go from there to really wanting to make money, because now they know they've got a blueprint to do that.
Is there a confidence issue? That's what I would think is some of it is, okay, Victoria, you did it. You have a lot of confidence. How do I, you said a blueprint. Where do you see people really being successful? What do they have to grab hold of to make that shift and say, I don't have to be mom and pop anymore. I can go for the bigger contracts?
I think what happens is when I show them me, when I got started, I show them, I have a picture of me in my workshop where, or in my masterclass where I show a picture of me. I show when I'm inside of my boutique by myself, and I talk about how the profits were not that great, how it was something that people wanted, but they really didn't need. And then I do the shift of showing them testimonials of people that saw me by myself. I talked about how I had this project for subcontracting for a large company. It was just me. I had, no extended credit for business or anything like that, just a couple of credit cards that I didn't even believe in charging. I believed in doing it, doing it where you self-fund. So when I thought about that, I was able to then show the breadcrumbs. So they saw just me, hire people for that one particular contract that I had, do well. I told them how to hire. So then they're like, okay, she's breaking it down in such bite-sized pieces, and she's letting me see behind the scenes. Some people just flash it up and they'll, now of course I tell them this is high level and I would love to break it down eye level. But one of the things I always make sure that I do is they're going to get one actual item they can implement before the end of that day. So if you come on to one of my master classes, you're going to get something that you can implement by the time it's over. It's from 12 to 1:15. In that hour, you're going to find something you can do. And you're going to see people that look just like you, have the same issues as you do. There isn't anyone out there that has not had to go through. I'm a single parent, check. Lots of people do it. I don't have anyone but's with me, check. I don't have any money, check. Anything you can come up with, there has been myself or other people that I demonstrate that have been through that.
Yeah, I have bad credit. I haven't succeeded
Yes.
before. I don't have time. That's a huge one. And again, for the folks who are listening, whatever you are doing, her classes and her videos are so powerful. It doesn't matter if you're cleaning, you're accounting, you're banking, whatever you're doing. If you are interested in this entrepreneurial mindset, this is the woman you need to follow, because she's got it going on. She really does. So as they're looking at this, you said you've branched out to helping anybody get government contracts. So tell us some of the professions that you're helping with that.
Sure. So there are categories with GSA, which is General Service Administration, which is one of the large ones when they give what they call schedules, which means they are smart at doing two things. They pool a bunch of vendors together, which are contractors, that they know they're going to need those services again and again and again. So let's say Florida. we pretty much guess that we're going to have hurricanes in Florida again or some type of natural disaster. So GSA, along with FEMA, will get together. There's several other government agencies, but those are some of the main ones that'll get together and they'll pull all these vendors together. They have already vetted them, which means you can go on to these government agencies, fill out an application. Now, there's some requirements, SAM registration, if you want to do federal. But what we start doing is breaking down federal and state and local. For every one federal contract, there are 25 state and local. A lot of people go straight for the big ones, but there are a lot of little low-hanging fruit contracts out there for about a little under $200,000 that'll do you real well. You get a couple of those, you're pretty well set. So you may not go after all the large ones. So let's say I'm an accountant and I'm working for one of the big four. They were six, now they're down to four. And I know that I've had years of doing this, 10 years, but I'm ready to do something on my own, but I still want to keep that security and health insurance because I have children or a husband or something like that. So what does that look like? So what that basically looks like is you start with understanding, what do you want to be your offer? What do you want to offer the government, product or service? Then we find them the buyers. There's all the government out there, but you want to have it where you want to find three buyers. And so there's ways you go about finding that. Now I have my offer and I have my buyer. Now I know what vehicle. Do you want to do simplified contracts? Do you want to do it as a vendor? Once you figure that out, then we start looking at building that relationship, our introduction letters and our elevator pitches and all that fun creative stuff that I love about doing it. And from there, you then just simply have a strategy for marketing. So if you have a skill set as a 9 to 5 person and you want to turn that into an entrepreneur, there is no government out there, some type of service you can't find. And they have these things called NAICS codes. And there's a website where you go, you put in keywords, accountant, the government translates it into a 6 character. And it's six numbers that are part of your NAICS code. Every service and product, the government has a NAICS code for it. And it's similar to that in retail. You notice that, they have a lot of similarities when it comes to that. So once you figure out, what do I want to offer? Who are my buyers? What vehicle do I want to use? And what is going to be my differentiator? What is it? And I always tell people, think of Starbucks. Starbucks was able to convince people to stand in a long line, pay a lot more money than you would say at a Dunkin' Donuts or something. So what they do is they are able to market it in a way where they can make you feel like you're getting something of value, whether it's the good morning, whether it's the service, but you're willing to pay premium dollar for that. If you're able to do that when it comes to translating your services from what you do for someone else, and then you're able to translate that into what you're going to do for yourself, and you figure out where you're going to kind of tweak it to give it a little bit of a differentiator, the rest will be history. You'll be able to duplicate that again and again. And then what's so great about that, the government agencies, they're kind of risk, they don't like a lot of risk. Government's kind of a little old fashioned when it comes to that, a little antiquated when it comes to that. They love knowing that it's a sure thing. So once they get used to you and you've built that relationship with them, they will use you again and again and again. And that's how you grow.
So it's its own built-in referral system. Once they get you in there and you like it and they like you, then they just keep referring you to other people and saying, hey, can you do this, this, and this? Now, a lot of what you said, I'm kind of like, will you be there to hold my hand if I start doing this? Because there were a lot of moving parts, not different from running your own business, but often you have to do that all by yourself. Whereas if they work with you, I'm assuming you have coaching, you have the availability to help them step by step. And say again what the code word was. What was the code word?
What was the code word? Which code word?
You said you put in accounting and they turn that into something else, and that's called a NAS.
Oh, when they're looking for their NAICS code?
Is it NAICS, or how do you spell it?
Yeah, it's NAICS. So it's NAICS code, but we say NAICS code. So the NAICS code, there's an actual website called NAICScode.com. And so that will takes you to that particular website. You put in what you do. Let's say if I do logistics, transportation, software, whatever it is, You put the keyword in and it gives you a code, and it writes down like it gives you the number, 6 numbers, and then it says next to it what that looks like. So let's say for facilities services, for doing facilities, and that includes staffing or anything inside a facility. If I put in, some type of facility services management, it will give you all these different codes, and then you look at which one, and you may have 2 or 3, and they should be sort of like a resume. They should be relatable. So I'm going to put, I'm going to relate start with what you know the best and what you enjoy doing. So if I'm an accountant, I can't stand it, then maybe I might be really great at, I might be really great at human resources. So because I've done a little bit of that and I loved it, then I might want to offer the government that service. Now, as far as do we hold their hands? Absolutely. I make sure that my goal is to give people one of the best experiences they can have. And I'm always reminded of Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A because when you get there, the line might be wrapped around the corner, but they're very, very, good at what they do. They ask your name. So you're thinking, wow, this is just for some, fast food, but they treat it as if they care about who you are. So they make you have an experience, unlike maybe Burger King or McDonald's, where they may not even say thank you when you pull up to give them your money to get something back.
Right.
Goes back to when I talk about Starbucks and they talk about, Southwest Airlines, all of these companies that are really, really great. They start with a great customer experience, and that is me. So I always say that, whether you're looking at Walmart, Target, Macy's, Neiman's, Blooming's, they all are marketing to different people. But if I know that I want to give you a really great value and a great experience, and I'm not looking at being the most expensive, nor am I looking at being the lowest, I'm looking at giving you value. That is why you will have people that call me. And I have never done anything with them, but I will answer their questions as if they've paid for something, which 9 times out of 10, they will say, well, wow, she's giving me this and I haven't even paid $1. Imagine what I'm going to get if I pay. And that's what I want people to really get, that feeling. And I think that can only come from an authentic place, that you really love what you do. That's what I love it. So that's why it comes across like it's just effortless. And by the time you get done with the consulting or the courses, you're talking the lingo, you know what to say and how it feels, and it just kind of flows. And that's the goal.
And that allows you to take that why, take that purpose, step out and do the things you need to do to make the money so you can get back to the why and the purpose. Because as you said, and I ran a small spa too, I did a good job. I was really good at what I did, but it sucked up a lot of my time. It wasn't scalable. It did not go on to the next level.
Yes.
And I am totally fascinated. So the NAICS, say the word again, the NAICS.
The NAICS code. NAICS.
NAICS code, NAICScode.com. Anybody can get on there, plug in anything they
Anyone.
love
It's
to
absolutely
do,
free.
and see if it's there. So on a Saturday afternoon, hop on there and see if there's something in there. And then you can walk them through how to make the pitch, how to do the right thing. Because I think for most of us, the most intimidating thing about the government, if you've had any dealing beyond taxes, is there's a form and there's a right person to call and you have to fill it out correctly and you have to get it in the right place. But you make that navigation easy.
Yes, the government is not broken, it's fragmented. So there may be, one website that's all about current bids. They were talking about with COVID. There was a gentleman that was in Georgia. He registered his business. He was able to procure gowns or gloves or something that the government needed. He had never, ever, ever worked with the government before. He was able to secure it in Taiwan, wherever he was able to secure it. He won 5 contracts that totaled $20 million within that 2 year.
Wow.
Yes. That's the kind of money that's out there. Yes.
And he was
5 contracts total.
He was procuring the product and you were helping him set up the contracts, and he was selling them the things that they needed for the COVID supplies that they couldn't get otherwise.
Right. Now, he wasn't a client of mine. That's just an example. And I do have people that have won multi-million dollar contracts, but this particular person, when I'm doing my masterclass, I will use people that have had experiences, like they've been clients. We've got videos where we show where they're talking, but then I also will put in an article in one of my newsletters that just talks about this person just started and look at it where he is now. This could be you as well. So he's one of those individuals that was an inspirational kind of story where he did this in his garage in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
procured gloves, or people find, you know, what is it, porta potties. There's you could be a reseller. You can end up saying, okay, I want to do this, I want to resell to the government, or I want to be the person that finds the contracts, and then I provide some of the labor and then have someone else do at least a percentage. But you do have to do a certain percentage depending on what is your NAICS code. If you're in construction, you may have to do 75% of it. But still, there's so many ways you can maneuver, still work 9 to 5, or if you decide, hey, I think I've had enough, I'm ready to go out there on my own. And
You
the
just
government facilitates that probably better than anyone else.
you just struck a real good chord of, you don't have to quit your 9 to 5. You could start this on the side and keep the safety of
Yes,
the 9 to 5 and then build it. And like you just said, the government is, I guess you would say, in a way, safer to do that with than trying to build a B2B or a B2C business, because they are
it
going to pay
is.
their
And
debts.
yeah, they're always going to pay their debt. A lot of times it's recession proof. The government is going to, do whatever they need to do to make sure that we're going to continue on. It's not going anywhere. It's not, it's something that I love, that not just anyone can do. Anyone can do it if they want to, but like for instance, entry level into some businesses are so low, they don't really value the skill set. Government's going to give you a little bit more of a skill set, even to register and setting you apart and being in the database where you can then do business with the government is a big step. So there's some people
Mm-hmm.
that get in what they call sam.gov. That's the database that the government uses to find people for the contracts. Just knowing, wow, I'm registered, and it's absolutely free. The registration is free.
Mm-hmm.
What people come to business owners like myself or someone else that's doing coaching and consulting, they're paying for their experience, they're paying for the blueprint, they're paying for the community, and they're paying for the speed. What may take
Absolutely.
you, the average person might win a contract in a year. Well, you might find a way to win it in 60 days. That's what you're paying for. But the SAMs and everything else, I tell everyone, is absolutely free. You
Well,
can register without spending a dime.
and so is your webinar, and so are
Yes,
all the YouTubes. And on the YouTubes, you go through things that every business owner should know: what checking accounts or bank accounts to have, how you might get in trouble with the IRS and you don't want to, how to set aside money for the rainy day that will happen.
yes.
You even talk through LLCs, and what I like about yours is it's very clear, very straightforward, and starts with the small steps to get to the bigger ones. I mean, we've talked a lot about the bigger ones, and I know people can be mind boggled by that, but that's not what your channel is about. Your channel is about the small little pieces that get you to the next step. So, who are the people that you work with most of the time?
I will work with, most of the time, I will get individuals that are looking to secure retirement.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a career and they may have been very successful, and now they're looking for their second part of their life. When I talk about breaking our lives into quarters, 1 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, get a lot of people then that second and third quarter. And they know that they're ready to still do something, but they don't want to do what they're currently doing any longer, but they're not ready to just hang out to just not do anything. I get a lot of individuals that want to do something as a family. I get people that are looking to do IT, logistics, security, anything you could think of. They're absolutely ready to do this. And they enjoy it. They're so excited. They do one piece of it, and like, oh my God, because
Mm-hmm.
every piece is like closer to where they want to go. So anyone, I would say my average age is between 40 and 60. I don't get a lot of people that might be 24, 25.
Right.
So they, maybe they're looking at, just getting out of school and doing something else. But I'd say between the 40s, 50s, 60s is the average age. Any industry, various backgrounds, but all of them usually have one thing in common. They're ready to not eventually work for someone.
So
That's the ultimate gathering of what I get.
they want to be their own boss. They want to figure out how to make a business work for themselves. And those 20-year-olds are missing out.
Yeah.
They are
Well,
missing out.
it takes you a while to understand. So there's always that growth curve. I do get some now. I've gotten some mature ones that are 25, 26 that like blow my mind. But the
Right.
majority of who I would say are there are the ones that have been out there for a while, worked a job, and had a career. I've had some people that are successful teachers. I have people that come to me that are already making six figures. I
Mm-hmm.
have people that come through making none, zero.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same system that you set up to be able to teach someone who's never made any money on their own to someone that's made six, seven figures, but are ready to do something in a different way.
Yeah. And you're not too old, right? You said you had people in their
No.
60s. They can come, and people who
Oh, I have people that are
have had
60,
complete
70. There's a
careers.
gentleman that's in his 80s. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. And I imagine that with the government in that age range, you're looked at having wisdom, you know what you're doing, they're respectful of you, all those things that we don't always find in corporate, in business, and those types of things.
Yes,
Where
it is
else
nice.
where else can people find you? I know your YouTube, I keep talking about that. What other places are you available?
I have my YouTube, I have my Facebook. So you would just go to, it's called Six Figure Cleaning Tribe. I'm
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, same, and the YouTube. Starting to do a little bit TikTok, getting a little bit more with that. And then also they can reach out to me. You can have the link where they can reach out to me via my website. So there's several ways to be able to contact me and allow me to show you a whole other world of what's possible.
And I would encourage all of our listeners just to go to our YouTube channel to look at that. Even if you're not necessarily thinking about this, her energy, her positivity, her encouragement, it may be just something you listen to in the morning, because she's really good about getting up in the. Do you still get up at 3 a.m. in the morning and
I
get
get up at
yourself
I get up
organized?
at 5. So I'm up at 5 o'clock with and it's funny because I realized that the number one thing I understood the difference when they talked about and success means different things to different people, but what successful people do. And I thought, yeah, right. But it's so true. The habits
Yes.
that like if I leave my vitamins on the counter when I get ready to eat breakfast, because I know if I put them in the cabinet, I won't see them and I won't take the vitamins. I make sure that I do certain things, affiliated with when I'm brushing my teeth or washing my face, my affirmations. All of that it sounds so like right, but I'm here to tell you, it really does work. And like we say, it changes your thermometer for bringing in money, attracting it and attracting the right people, and then being able to go out and do things that you never thought you'd have the time or the money to do.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Victoria, I can't thank you enough. I'm delighted that I ran into you. It's been just a real joy to hear all of this. And again, this has been a journey. It's not just that you suddenly happened into this, but it's been a journey. And so if other people have been on a journey, join Victoria. Add more to your journey. It's not over.
Yes, I would love,
70,
love.
80. And for you young
Yes.
20s, you don't have to be bound by that 9 to 5. There's a lot more out there. And, both of us are here to tell you, you can create a lot more than you think you can. You just need some people around you to help you move that forward. So, Victoria, I really thank you for being here with us today. Be sure and subscribe to Sober on Purpose so that you can get more videos like this, and pop on over to Ms. M and get her inspirational videos, whether you're doing government contracts or not. I'm going to go on Saturday and get on the government site and go, okay, I have these skills. What does that turn into?
Yes.
Just to see.
I'd love to know how that works.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hi, Sober on Purpose family. Please be sure and subscribe. We have a ton more videos. We have courses coming up. We have a newsletter that comes out weekly. Plus, there is a podcast as well. And for those who are brave enough to really decide they want to move into the future, they want to move into their future self and leave behind the hurts, habits, and hangups that they have struggled with over the last year, I work with extraordinary women who are ready to step in, open their hearts, and find the true self that they can share with their family, their community, and the world. Because it's only when one person changes that the whole world changes. Are you ready to jump into that kind of adventure? Click the links in the show notes and let me know. Let's talk and see if we're the right fit. Again, remember to subscribe, videos, courses, podcasts.